Hey everybody, it's Bigfoot. Thanks for clicking through here. Um, with all this social distancing and what are we calling it? Shelter at home, quarantine. It's gonna turn into stir crazy real quick, right? So I thought I would help you and provide some art therapy with today's lesson. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a cartoon virus. Look at this stinky guy here. We're gonna make a cartoon virus and we're gonna write things on here. And I'm gonna encourage you to color it up, make it look awesome, and then crumble it up, throw it away, or throw darts at it, or just put it in the fireplace, okay? So this is gonna be a little bit of fun art therapy. My hope here is to give you a little bit of a distraction, something fun, and possibly something that can make you feel a little bit better. Okay, so let's get started. If you're doing this digitally, just open up a new layer and select whatever tool that you prefer to sketch with. For me, it's going to be this clicky pencil, this manly Bigfoot clicky pencil. And this is, I used to hate these pencils because the leads would always break. And then it occurred to me, like, hey, this pencil is going to really force me to draw lightly, which is a really, really important step in the drawing process, is sketching lightly. So I like clicky pencils now. So let's go ahead and draw a dashed line down the center of the paper very lightly, and let's crisscross that line. That is going to help you place our shape onto the paper. So what we're going to do is we're just going to make a circle. Doesn't have to be a perfect circle, just a nice light sketched circle, okay? And this is going to be the main shape that we're going to be using today for our stinky little virus. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to turn this flat circle into more of a sphere or an orb by putting that crescent line or that line there to create a crescent on one side. Now we have more of an orb, more of a sphere, and something that we can make a face or a head out of, okay? Now, in addition to that, what we're going to do is we're going to put these spikes coming out of the face of this virus, just a little bit. We're going to do some, I was calling them tendrils, but I guess the actual term is spike. So maybe we'll call this guy Spike. He's going to wind up looking kind of like a spike when we're done. So these are just lines that come out. Kind of looks like the sun and the moon now, doesn't it? So maybe there's hope after all, right? So we start with this, and this is called the wireframe. It's sketched really super lightly on the paper so that you can erase if you make a mistake or if you change your mind. Really easy to work with so you don't get frustrated, okay? Now, right in the middle here on this line, we're going to put our backwards C shape, which is going to be our nose for this character, okay? So it's a backwards C shape with just a little line over it like that. And that creates a good little nose. Now, what we're doing is we're trying to create a grimace. This is a stinky little virus that we're going to create. We're going to color it up, and then we're going to throw it away for art therapy. We're going to really have some fun with this. And what we're doing is we're creating a little grimace. This is a nasty little stinky character that we're making. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a line that loops down and goes back up like kind of an S that's on its side here. And so that is one. And then on the other side, we're just going to create kind of a line that curves like that. Now, in researching how I wanted to do this, I studied Calvin from Calvin and Hobbes as drawn by Bill Watterson, who's, in my opinion, the best cartoonist in the history of the world. So I really like the way that he would make Calvin grimacing. So I kind of studied that, and he did a really great job with just a few lines in the eyebrows to kind of create a grimace, because Calvin always seemed to be grimacing about something, whether it was homework or the food that his parents were asking him to eat or what have you. So we're going to add these lines to this side over here to kind of create an angry eye for the grimace emotion. And then over here we have these, and we're going to put this little L shape line like this. And then we'll just go like this. Okay? So this is how we start to form the eyebrows, the eyelids, the cheeks, everything that makes a grimace. And once again, we're trying to create something that looks like this. So this is how we start it, okay? We're going to put our pupil here on this side, and this one is right there, okay? Let's put a shine mark in on both sides, and for the purpose of adding some contrast and seeing what we're doing, let's go ahead and shade that in, okay? So now we're starting to get the grimace with the eyes, okay? And we have this space down here. Now, let's before we move forward, let's talk about how we do this. When we have a face that's like a 3/4 turn, this should be smaller, and this should be bigger. So this line kind of shows you everything in the smaller part is smaller, everything in the larger part is bigger, okay? It's perspective, okay? So let's go ahead and create the mouth. I'm going to do it a little different from the one I showed you in the sample. I don't know why. I'm just feeling a little bit like we can sort of loop this thing out of here a little bit. Okay, so this is how we create a mouth that's going to be grimacing. We loop a tongue out of there. He's kind of going, wah. Imagine this little stinky creature, right? This little stinky thing. And he's kind of going, wah. So there's the tongue looping out. And then we can add all these kind of messed up teeth. Okay? And we'll put those around the top and the bottom. Okay? So this is kind of our grimace. I created a different grimace today, which is cool. I like it. I like things that are different. I like to try new things. So this is how we have our face for the little virus character constructed. If you want to, you can go ahead and erase all of these lines that we started with, especially this one that goes right through the middle of the face. We don't need that anymore. And any of the dashed lines that are inside of the character's face, any sketchies that you want to get rid of, you can go ahead and do that. Because you did it lightly, it should be very easy to kind of clean up and move forward, okay? Now, if you want to add some additional contrast in here, this mouth is going to be shaded in, inked in, colored in, whatever you want to call it, so that we add the contrast. This will sort of highlight these nasty teeth, the tongue looping out, and also adds to our grimace, okay? Emotion is so important when you're creating cartoon characters. And you want to try to really kind of exaggerate your emotions when you do them as a cartoonist. The more exaggerated these characters are, the better that they will turn out, okay? So here we have our little grimace face. Maybe we want to add another little loop there. I don't know. I'm just kind of going along as we go here. So here we have the face in place, and now we're going to work on these spikes, okay? Now the spikes for this that I've seen on the microscopic photos of the virus, they kind of look like spikes. They're sort of triangular at the ends, and then they kind of taper down going to the sphere. So the way that I've chosen to do this is I'm going to make for every spike, it's going to be triangular, kind of like this. And some of them are going to go inside of the shape. So I'm going to alternate, and here and there, as I have this kind of planned out, I'm going to take these inside of the circle and then erase. and there we have a spike, okay? So for these that are coming from the inside, they just look like this. They just repeat. And they don't have to be purely alternating, but sometimes that's just the way it works out. So there is one final one that's coming from the inside of the shape out, okay? So these spikies are from the inside out, and I'm just gonna kind of do an oval at the end of each one. Something like that, okay? So that's how I'm doing the spikes that come from the inside out. Now, as this shape goes around, other of these spikes would just go from the edge of the circle out like this as they move away. So this is kind of contouring a shape. I've done this before with meteors and planets and anything that has a texture to it that wraps around it. I just go on the second layer. These are just kind of from the edge of the circle out. Notice they're also a little bit shorter maybe. So at the base there, this circle stays. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's how we're going to do that. And then there would also be, when you look at the photo, it has like a bumpy texture. See how it goes through here? So this spike that comes from the inside, we stop. And then we continue around. This kind of has a bumpy texture. And then I'm going to go through this one because that's one going around. And then I'm going to stop. And then I'm going to come around and give this a bumpy texture all the way through it. Okay? Something like that, just to give it a little extra texture. Because that's how it looked when I saw it. I did a little bit of research, okay? So this is how we have this. And there would also be a couple other layers. There would be some other spikes going around, once again, going around the surface of this. These spikes would start to disappear. I'm going to leave that because of the tongue. These spikes would start to disappear as they went around. So these are the other spikes as it goes around, okay? So this kind of creates this spiky texture going around the shape. And if you want to, so you can either leave it like this in terms of your character design. You can either leave it like this, or you can also create some shapes inside, because these spikes are all around here, but we have the face, so we have to figure out how are we going to address this as it comes around. So what I would suggest is just put some shapes around. Don't really compete with the face too much. Just kind of put some shapes around here, okay? And then the way that we make these look like spikes as well is we kind of imagine the center point, and then every line that comes here would kind of angle towards that center point to create the look of a spike that maybe we're looking down on the top of a little bit. Okay, it's a cartoon, so you don't have to make it exactly the way it looks. I mean, take some license with it, have some fun. If you don't like this texture going around the face, maybe it looks too busy or too distracting for you, you don't have to do that. The beauty of drawing lightly and sketching using this wireframe technique is you can kind of do this and see it as it goes and make your decisions, okay? So this is the sketch of our little stinky virus guy with the grimace. And I'm gonna show you how to go ahead and approach the inking of it. So I'm gonna grab a Sharpie. Fortunately, I have one here. I hope this one works. I'm just gonna show you how to go about doing that. So you would kind of come in with your Sharpie or your black marker, and you would just kind of go over everything, okay? And then when you have something that's colored in, like the pupil there, you just color it in. You're essentially making kind of like a coloring book, right? So you're going to go through and you're going to just trace over everything. And you're going to add the contrast. And you're going to make it look more bold and more eye-catching, okay? Not the greatest Sharpie in the world, but it's doing the job, okay? So maybe you make little incremental changes too. Maybe you want to kind of make that line change a little bit. And so I want you to go ahead and grab some sort of black marker or Sharpie and trace over all the lines. And then once you've done that, you can come in with your eraser and let's pretend this is all inked in, and we can come through with an eraser and the Sharpie's not going to erase, so we can clean it up and get all the pencil messy sketchy out of there. And then you have a really nice inked kind of coloring book looking character. So go ahead and do that. And then we're going to talk about color. So you can pause this here if you'd like and finish up your inking and your erasing, and then we'll talk about color, okay? All right, so we are back, and what I did with this one, this is the one that I had the sample from before, is as you can see, I turned it into kind of a coloring book with the black line, and then I just took 3 colors. I had a red and orange, and I actually used the pencil to shade it, because the photo that I saw was kind of gray, and then it was kind of red and orange. So I just used the red at the tips of the spikes and a little bit of orange fading down into the gray. I left kind of a hot spot here in the middle of it where there isn't any sort of shading, kind of a center point. And then I just kind of finger blended around to create a very gray shade coming around. I did a little bit of coloring in the eyes to make it look nasty and stinky. And then I did a little bit of shading here in the tongue just to give it, I don't know. When you do these kind of techniques, it helps your character look a little bit more 3D. I might do a little bit of extra shading on the gray to sort of help that out. I really like the way the eyes are looking and the tongue is looking. I did a little bit of yellow in the teeth just to make them look nasty. And this is sort of the finished up little stinky virus character. And then what I want you to do is sort of follow through, carry this through for the art therapy, is to write messages, boo, hiss, go away, thumbs down. You can kind of, let's see, maybe you've got a thumbs down. I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm doing right now. I didn't think that out. That's not even a good thumbs down. But anyway, thumbs down, whatever you want. Just, kind of tell this virus what you're thinking. Go away, boo, hiss, etc. And then what you can do is when you're all finished, you can, put it in the fireplace, put it up on the wall, throw darts at it. If you're going to do those, please be safe. Don't throw darts around people, and make sure you have your control over the fire, etc. If you're putting it in the fireplace, have your parents supervise that. Or it can be just as simple as this: just crumble it up and throw it away. Some art therapy. Woo! I wish we could all do that with this virus. And then, of course, I'm going to sanitize. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun to make. Stay safe out there, stay healthy, and just get in contact with people. Love the ones you're with, and support all of those that are really fighting this. Give love and support to those that are out there in the medical healthcare industry. And all around in the grocery stores and the first responders and all the people that are helping get us through this. And we'll have another video coming for you soon. I hope you enjoyed this art therapy with Bigfoot.